Welcome back to my channel, friends, and in today's video I'm going to explain why you might not want to move to Jacksonville, Florida. So stick around and I'm going to go over 5 things that are really something you need to wrap your head around if you want to move to Jacksonville, Florida. Friends, my name is Nicole Smith. In case you don't know me, I'm a realtor here in Metro Jacksonville, Florida, and I started my journey here back in October 2014. So we're starting to be really close to our 10-year anniversary of living in Jacksonville, Florida. And if I would have known some of these things before, I don't know. These are the things that people don't really tell you about until you're here. And frankly, I want to give you a little background. I decided, along with my family, to make the decision to move to Jacksonville, Florida. One, because I was really, really tired of the cold, snowy, gray winters in Ontario/Michigan. It was unbearable. And we felt that if we were going to grind out our 9 to 5, why not do it in paradise? Why not take the risk? But some of the things that we really didn't know about until we actually lived here, well, there's a small list of things that you may need to consider because it might not be for you. And the first thing on my list is weather. It's also my favorite. It's my pro and it's my con. Well, the weather here can be tumultuous. The weather in the summer is very hot, it's very humid, and it rains almost every single day. Now the good thing about it is it's very tropical. So when it rains, it may rain for 20 minutes. And then once it's done raining, the sunshine comes back out again and all the rain is evaporated. And guess what? You can't even tell that it rained. But if you're trying to make plans, you better have the weather app because those storm clouds will come. So you will have to make sure you're always equipped with raincoats, umbrellas. I never had rubber boots in my life. Now I have rubber boots. I have them in the car in case I'm out showing houses and there's some dirt and there's some puddles and there's all kinds of crazy weather. I'm prepared. So yeah, they are also hurricanes. Yes, of course, you've heard of that. Not a shocker. But before I moved here, there hadn't been a hurricane. As soon as I moved here, almost every year since I moved here, there was a hurricane. Now, thank God, most of the time where we lived, we didn't get affected by this hurricane. But it is something to consider. You have to be prepared. You cannot take it lightly. And you know, the beauty of it is your employer, in most cases, they're gonna shut down the shop, tell you to go home and prepare, and you're closed down for 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 days. And guess what? You get paid. In most cases, I can't speak for every employer, but most cases, they're going to pay you what they call hurricane pay. So I guess that's a pro. The fact that we get warnings for the hurricanes also helps. And then we have to make our decisions where we're going to go. Are we going to head up northeast or head up northwest? It just depends on how it curves. Honestly, if you live here, people call it hurricane parties because they will go to the store, the shelves will be empty. No water, no bread. They just go crazy and buy up everything. It's better to be prepared. So candles, batteries, if you have a radio that can run on solar, these are some of the things you're gonna have to get yourself equipped with. And a lot of people buy generators, because even if the hurricane doesn't hit hard, in some communities you will go out of power and all the food that you have in your fridge will go bad unless you have a nice barbecue that doesn't run on any kind of electricity, hopefully a propane tank. And a lot of people will go and get junk food like crazy, and they'll just sit there and eat it. And it's a thing with the locals. That's what they do. They have hurricane parties. So when everybody up north is freaking out about the weather, and we're sitting here having our drinks, eating our chips, they're like, oh, are you okay? And we're like, yep, we're great. So that's the number one thing that I would have to warn you about before you decide to come to Jacksonville, Florida. The second thing I want to talk about is the bugs and the wildlife. Yes, you may not be aware of the bugs here, but they are completely different creatures here than what we were used to in Michigan and in Ontario. I know you've heard of cockroaches, but they're a little bougie down here, and they call them palmetto bugs. And the reason they call them palmetto bugs is because they are far bigger than anything you've ever seen in the north. They're usually a good 2 inches, and they fly. Oh yes, they fly, and they will come at you in the most craziest situations. I remember one time I was in the bathroom and I had my eyes closed. I was brushing my teeth. All of a sudden I felt something hit me in the face, and I looked down and there was a cockroach that flew out of the drain and hit me in the face. I had never screamed so loud in my life. I was like, OMG. And that's not my only cockroach story. I have several. You're gonna need to have pest control. It's just a part of life here. The other thing you're going to have to get used to is these little tiny lizards. They are everywhere, and they're harmless, but they just scare you because all of a sudden you'll be standing there and they are speedy, and they will run and claw up your screens on your windows. They'll get stuck in there. Some of them get in the house and they're just going to be dead soon. But some people get really freaked out about them. So that is another thing you have to get used to when you're living here. Now, the bigger lizard called a gator. Alligators are here in Florida. I think when you're in the swamp, you're going to have an alligator. Now, personally, I have never seen one in the neighborhood. I have sold a home to someone who was terrified of alligators. The funny story is, the day they closed on their house, they walked outside and went and introduced themselves to the neighbor across the street. And the first thing they asked, are there gators here? And she said, in fact, the house that you bought, there's a lake in their backyard. They found a 5-foot gator back there. You should have seen their face. They almost fainted. I was like trying to look at this lady, telling her not to say anything. But we warned them. But the good thing is, if you're living in a community, they will have the animal control come out and capture any gators that grow bigger than 5 feet. So it will be taken care of. And if you have a fence, yes, they can break through a fence if they really want to. Just be mindful that there could be a gator. So when you go outside, look both ways. Don't leave your kids out there. And if you have a dog, don't walk your dog close to the water. People have died trying to save their dog. I'm giving you the warning. This is serious and something you need to consider. It's not a joke. I am not making fun. People have died walking their dog close to the man-made lakes because they can come in any body of water, and they have died. So be mindful and use some wisdom. The third thing I want to talk to you about is the cost of living. Now, the cost of living in Florida and in Jacksonville in particular is way more affordable. It is 5% to 6% lower cost of living here than anywhere in the United States of America. We don't have state tax here. Our medium sale and average sale price of our home in the Jacksonville area is in the $200,000 to $300,000 range. And of course, you can find $1 million homes here, but you can also find homes in the 100,000s. So depending on your budget and depending on your lifestyle, you can find affordable housing here. The one thing that is a little more costly here is your energy bills, your utilities. I don't know why it's particularly more expensive here than, let's just say, Tampa, but it is. But you will save money on your health insurance. And like I said, we don't have state tax. You're gonna save money on groceries here. The one thing that is a little more pricier here, and I'm not sure if it's all parts of the US, but our homeowners insurance has gone up quite a bit in the last few years. So you have to consider that as well. And you can even get quotes before you move. Find an address that you were considering living in and just get an estimate. Having your budget together is very important. Some of our communities have HOA fees. They have CDD fees. And what that means is there's no way around it. You have to pay those fees. If you don't pay your HOA fee, there could be a lien placed on your home. And that is not a good thing. So you cannot take it lightly when there's an HOA in your community. You have to pay it. And I know not every community across this country has HOA fees, so that's another thing you have to consider part of your budget. And the cost of living overall is more affordable here. When we're talking about the cost of living, I went to the website Forbes.com and I looked up the cost of living calculator. I wanted to show you a comparison. Living in Jacksonville compared to living in Orlando, Florida. And in this calculator, they're showing a pre-tax household income of $70,000. And if you're starting in Orlando and you're moving to Jacksonville, you're only going to have to make $65,000. So that's a 7% lower to live here in Jacksonville compared to Orlando. And the total income needed is $48.20 less. We have a lower transportation cost. 16% in our homes here are 16% lower here. And the cost of living overall is 7%, and the utilities tend to be higher. So I explained that earlier. I just wanted to show you in a graph form so you could see this. So the average home price in Orlando is $523,000. The average home price here in Jacksonville is $387,713. So that's 34.95% lower. And here's your apartment, 14.3% cheaper to live in a rental here. That's where they get us, is the energy bills are slightly higher. It's 1.53%, so not bad. And our phone bills are slightly higher by a few cents. Not so bad, but the gasoline here is a little bit higher, and our healthcare is lower here as well. So that's just an overall. And if you want to look at any city that you're living in, considering moving here, you can go to the Forbes website and find this information for yourself. I'll leave a link down in the description if you want to get that link. There are things that you may not be aware of. So I'm here to offer you assistance, guide you through the process, share with you all the good and the ugly, bad things about Florida so you can make a wise decision. So the fourth thing I want to talk about, you have to be aware of the drivers here. I'm not saying I'm a perfect driver. I'm not saying that all drivers here in Metro Jacksonville are bad drivers. But overall, I simply cannot understand why there are so many accidents here. Far too many. And it's on a beautiful day. It's not a rainy day. It's not a snowy day, obviously. People are not paying attention. People are driving too slow. People are driving too fast. There's too many to kind of explain it, but I've also found that the roads here are smooth. It's rare to find a pothole here. I've heard that sometimes there's sinkholes here, but the roads are well maintained, and I think that has a lot to do with not using salt on the roads, so it doesn't eat up the road, and it makes a difference. The fifth thing I want to talk to you about today is public transportation. Now, they do have a bus system. I've actually never been on the bus system. From what I've heard from people I know, it's not a very great experience. There's not really great connections, and it takes an hour to 2 hours to get anywhere. Because Jacksonville is the largest city per square mile, makes sense. But if you are in a city like New York and Chicago, where they have the metro systems and the subway systems, you're not going to find that here. You'll find buses, and in downtown they do have a little like loop train, but it's just to get from one area to the other. It's not a big transportation hub of any sort, so I wouldn't even account that into our public transportation. So if you're not a driver and you don't have a vehicle, this will not be a great place for you to get around. You can still live here, you'll figure it out, but public transportation is a big deal. I'm going to give you one more reason why you may want to consider not moving to Jacksonville, Florida. And I want to put this in a politically correct way, but I didn't realize certain phrases that were derogatory until I came here. And I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the expression South Georgia, but they do consider Jacksonville South Georgia. Being a northerner, I didn't know that. And the one expression that people say that it sounds really polite and nice is actually not. And that is bless your heart. If a southern person from the south looks you in the face and smiles at you and says, bless your heart, they're really telling you, I can't even say it, but you get the message. It is not polite. So that's kind of my sixth thing I wanted you to be aware of, that sometimes they're smiling at you, but they don't really like you. But there are great people here, don't get me wrong. I've made so many fabulous friends here. In fact, we moved here, I was working in a retail store, and that's where I met most of my friends. And then when we joined a church, I made new friends there as well. It's not hard to make friends if you're friendly. So I would always say to people, if you want to make friends, you got to be friendly. It's easy to make friends. You have to just go out and do things and be nice to people and smile at people. And the one thing I do find here is a lot of people are very happy here. Because of the sun shining, a lot of people don't experience seasonal depression. They are actually happy, and it makes a big difference in people's dispositions and how they carry themselves. And I'm Canadian, and we're pretty friendly. Worldwide, we're known to be very helpful and very friendly citizens. So when I came, I was always smiling, and if people smile back, that's great. If they say hi, I say hi. If I say good morning first, it's just something I do, and I find it's quite receptive here. If you're not from here and you've moved here and people speak to you, you may not be used to it, and you may think, what do you want? Why are you talking to me? Are you trying to rob me? But in 9 out of 10 times, no, people are just being friendly. That's something you have to get used to if you're not used to that. But people will stop you, they'll talk to you if you're walking outside, if you have pets and you're taking your pets out for a walk. People will talk to you and have conversations. It is a very friendly community. It's a pretty simple and easy life here, and every nationality is represented. Every religion is represented. And I love that it's such a diverse community and everybody feels welcome. So I really appreciate you watching this video all the way to the end, and I hope you found value in it. And if you did, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow me. Share it with someone and make some comments. If I'm the one that you want to reach out to help you figure out your next move, I would be honored. So make sure you DM me, email me, or click the link in my calendar and let's get a game plan together. My name is Nicole Smith. I'm a realtor here in Metro Jacksonville, Florida, and I challenge you, if you're not loving where you live, why not consider moving to Metro Jacksonville, Florida, where you could be living the dream like I am. Thanks for watching, friends, and until next time, try to live the best life you can live.